राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जाय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरण मोहन जू की जाय। नित्यल्लभ विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिष्मार भक्तिवेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय। नित्यल्लभ विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिष्मार भक्तिवेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्यल्लभ विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिष्मार भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्यल्लभ विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्यल्लभ विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्यल्लभ विष्णु महाभागवत श्री गोरक्षर बाबूजी महाराज की जाय। नित्यल्लभ विश्व श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जाय। नित्यल्लभ विष्णु वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जाय। श्री रूपानु गौड़िया गुरु वर्ग की जाय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ, श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ, शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जाय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जाय। नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रजमंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट विदग्ध गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगा माया की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। समाग जय श्री षठ तिल एकादशी तिथि की जाय। जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा। Oh, Dandavat pranams. Who's it? Rukmini Didi and Shubhananda Prabhu. Hari Bol. Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ajanulambita bhujau kanakavadato sankirtanai kapitaro kamalaya Vishvambaro Dijavaro Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Namastrikala Satyaya Jagannatha Sutaya Cha Sabhrityaya Saputraya Sakalatraya Te Namaha. Jai 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 Vishvambara Dvijaraj Jai Vishvambara Priya Vaishnava Samaj Gaurachandra Jai Dharma Setu Mahathir Jai Sankirtana Moy Sundar Sharir Jai Nityanandir Bandhava Dhana Pran Jai Gadadhar Advaitir Prema Dham Jai Shri Jagarananda Priya Atishay Jai Vakreshwar Kashishwarir Hriday Jai Jai Shri Vasadi Priya Varganath Jiva Prati Koro Prabhu Shubha Drishtipat Madhya-khaṇḍa Katha Jena Amriter Khanda Jai Katha Shunile Ghuche Antar Pashanda Madhya-khaṇḍa Katha Bhai Shuno Ek Chitte Sankirtana Arambha Hoilo Jena Mate Tvai vasmi na jivami tvaya vina eti vigyaya devi tvang nayamam charanantikam bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay shiptashtakamaditaranga madhe kripamai tvam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charana ravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The glories of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata and Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. Hari Bol Hari Priya Didi. Okay. Ore muro lokshuno Chaitanya Mangal Chaitanya Mahima Jate Jani Beshakal Krishna Lila Bhagavate Kohe Ved Vyas Chaitanya Lilar Vyas Vrindavana Das Koilo Chaitanya Mangal Jahar Shravane Nashe Sarvaya Mangal Chaitanya Nitar Jate Jani Mahima Jate Jani Krishna Bhakti Siddhanter Sima Bhagavate Joto Bhakti Siddhanter Sar Likhiya Chen Iha Jani Koriya Udhar Chaitanya Mangal Shune Jadi Pashandi Javan Sheho Maha Vaishnava Hoy Tatakhon Manushe Rachite Nare Aiche Granta Dhanya Vrindavana Dasat Mukhe Vakta Shri Chaitanya Vrindavana Dasa Pore Koti Namaskar Aiche Granta Korite Ho Tarila Sangsar Narayani Chaitanya Uchishta Bhajan Tar Garve Janmila Shri Dasa Vrindavan तार की अर्बुत चैतन्य चारिता वर्णन जहाँ श्रवणे शुद्ध कोयल त्रिभुवन सहजे विचित्र मधुर चैतन्य विहार वृंदावन दास मुखे अमृतेर धार. By nature, all the activities of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu are very wonderful and sweet. And when they're described by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, they become like a shower of nectar. Jai Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki Jai. Jai Shri, the Gaudiya Bhashya of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki Jai. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai. And today's reading, what is it? Jai Shri Vas Thakur ki Jai. Jai Shri Devānanda Paṇḍita ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So yesterday we read the glories of Murari Gupta. Yesterday we read about, what is it? Hari Bol Nri Hari Prabhu and Bhavatarani Mataji and Rup Manjari Didi and Nitai Hari Bol. Okay, so yeah, yesterday we read, let me just put it up on the screen here. Okay, so yesterday, chapter 20, the glories of Murari Gupta. This chapter describes Mahaprabhu's revelation of Nityananda's position in Murari's dream, Mahaprabhu's refutation of the philosophy of impersonalism, Murari's offering of foodstuffs in his house to Mahaprabhu by throwing it on the floor, saying, eat, eat. Mahaprabhu's resultant indigestion and cure by drinking Murari's water. Mahaprabhu's acceptance of a four-armed form in the house of Shivas. Murari's acceptance of the mood of Garuda, and Mahaprabhu's climbing on Murari's shoulders. Murari's resolution to give up his body and the Lord's prevention. And topics such as the author's comparison of blasphemous sannyasis to plunderers, to thieves. All right, so those are the topics for today's reading. And now today we're going to read an extra long chapter. Well, it's 7,000 words, 7,378 words, which is quite a lot. So I'm going to just jump right into it. And I will, if it gets too late, like I'm not going to go way over time. If it turns 8:30, then we could just finish it up tomorrow. But it'd be great if we could finish the whole chapter today. So 1 second, just starting now. And thanks for Kamini Didi. She wrote comments on Facebook and YouTube so that it helps with the algorithm. Oops, did I not share my screen? Let me share my screen 1 second. There, okay. Chapter 21, the Lord's Chastisement of Devānanda. Oh, and actually, before I start, I just want to mention, I'm not sure if maybe I shouldn't say her name. Like, I'm not sure if her husband would not appreciate me. I have to get his permission. But one very dear god sister of mine, she's joined pretty much almost every single Śrīmad Bhāgavatam reading that we had for like 3 years or something like that. And but then right after that, she got cancer, and now she's so she hasn't been able to join the Caitanya-bhāgavata readings. And just now, he sent me a message saying that she's in the emergency room. So if everybody could pray for her, that would be really nice. Yeah, she's very, very sincere, very wonderful Vaishnavi. So, all right, starting now. 21. The Lord's Chastisement of Devānanda. Okay, this chapter describes Mahāprabhu's mood as Baladeva, Mahāprabhu's chastisement of Devānanda Paṇḍita, and the non-difference of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, tulasī, Gaṅgā, and the devotees from the Lord. No difference between Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, tulasī, Gaṅgā, and the devotees from the Lord. While wandering about Navadvip one day, Mahāprabhu came near the house of Maheshwar Visharada, the father of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. At that time, Devānanda Paṇḍita was residing in that area. Devānanda Paṇḍita was a lifelong brahmachari, desirous of liberation, and a renowned teacher of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Yet, in spite of reciting Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, he was devoid of devotional service because of his misfortune. Haribol Gaṅgā Mataji. So he was devoid of devotional service because of his misfortune. While wandering about Navadvip, Mahāprabhu came near a tavern and he smelt the odor of wine, which awakened his mood as Baladeva. He then expressed a desire to enter that tavern, but since such behavior was not approved by Srivas Pandit, Mahāprabhu refrained from doing so because he was reluctant to act against the desire of his devotees. Being restrained from entering that tavern, Gaur Sundar continued to walk down the main road, chanting the names of Hari like a madman, while drunkards from that tavern began to follow him and also chant the names of Hari. After mercifully glancing at those drunkards, Sri Gaurachandra went a little further and saw Devānanda Paṇḍita. The Lord then immediately remembered some topics regarding Srivas. That is, he remembered how Srivas Pandit went one day to hear Devānanda Paṇḍita's explanation of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Since Srivas Pandit's heart melted as he realized that every syllable of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is full of ecstatic love, transformations of ecstatic love like shedding tears and shivering awakened in him. On seeing those symptoms and on considering that such a display was a disturbance to their studies, the students of Devānanda Paṇḍita threw Srivas out. Since Devānanda Paṇḍita did not restrain his students from that action, he committed Vaishnava aparad. Thereafter, Srivas Paṇḍita regained external consciousness and returned home in distress. On seeing Devānanda, Sri Gaurasundar remembered the above-mentioned incident. Śrī Caitanya-dev then informed Devānanda Paṇḍita, who had disrespected the devotee Bhagavat, that he was unqualified to study Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. There's two Bhagavats. There's the devotee Bhagavat and the Grantha Bhagavat, the book Bhagavat. So he disrespected the devotee Bhagavat. So he was unqualified to study the book Bhagavat. After condemning him in various ways, the Lord praised the glories of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and the Vaishnavas. As a result, Devānanda Paṇḍita was embarrassed and returned home. Since persons who are punished by the chastisement of Śrī Caitanya are also most pious, the author also describes the good fortune of Devānanda Paṇḍita. Okay. Jaya Jaya Nityananda Prana Vishwambar Jaya Gadadhar Pati Advaita Ishwar. All glories to Vishwambar, the life and soul of Nityananda. All glories to the master of Gadadhar and the Lord of and the Lord of Advaita. Gaudiya Bhashya. Lord Vishwambar is the life and soul of Nityananda. He is the master of Gadadhar, and he is the Lord of Lord Advaita. Jai Srinivasa Haridasa Priyankar, Jaya Gaṅgā Das Vasudever Ishwar. All glories to him who is most dear to Srivas and Haridas. All glories to him who is most dear to Srivas and Haridas. All glories to the Lord of Gaṅgādas and Vasudev. Bhakta Goshti Sahita Gauranga Jai Jai, Shunile Chaitanya Katha Bhakti Labhya Hoy. All glories to Lord Gauranga, along with his associates. By hearing topics of Śrī Caitanya, one attains devotional service. Gaudiya Bhashya. Unless the worshipper, the object of worship, and the process of worship are combined together, the variegated pastimes of the Supreme Lord are not complete. In the absence of these three, there are no pastimes. There's no pastimes without the worshipper, the object of worship, and the process of worship. In other words, there's non-variegatedness opposed to devotional service, or there is no manifestation. Those who do not discuss the topics of Śrī Caitanya Dev are unable to realize the essential characteristics of devotional service. Those who are predominantly ignorant become averse to the service of the Supreme Lord by remembering non-devotees. False pride then overpowers them and drives them away from Bhagavan, the Bhakta, and Bhakti. Heno mate navadvipe Prabhu Vishwambar Vihare Sanghati Nityananda Gadadhar. In this way, Lord Vishwambar enjoyed his pastimes in Navadvip with Nityananda and Gadadhar. Hari Bol Vidyalala Sadidi. Ek din Prabhu kore nagar brahman Charidike Jata Apta Bhagavata Gan. One day, the Lord was wandering about Navadvip, surrounded by his intimate devotees. Sarvabhauma Pita Visharada Maheshwar Tahar Janghale Gela Prabhu Vishwambar. While wandering, Lord Vishwambar went near the dam protecting the house of Visharada Maheshwar, the father of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Interesting, his name is Visharada Maheshwar. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word Janghal means dam. On the western side of the Gaṅgā, in the area of Navadvip, lies the village of Kulia. There in Kulia, Kulia is like where I am. I might be actually a little bit further from Kulia, but yeah, it's Koladvip. So there was some low-lying land to the west of that village. So there was a dam to protect Maheshwar Visharada's house in Vidyanagar from flood. Hari Bol Champak Mataji. I hope you're starting to feel better now also. Shekhane Devānanda Paṇḍiter Vas Parama Sushanta Vipra Moksha Abhilash. At that place, at the house of Maheshwar Visharada, it was the residence of Devānanda Paṇḍita, a most peaceful Brahmin who desired liberation. Gaudiya Bhashya. The phrase moksha abhilash is explained as follows. The desire for imaginary impersonal liberation devoid of service to the lotus feet of Vishnu is one of the desires of people who are full of anarthas, or unwanted things. According to worldly perception, liberation means freedom from the threefold material miseries. But distinctions in perverted time, place, and person are not possible without the manifestation of real time, place, and person. In the conception of those addicted to material enjoyment, service to the Supreme Lord does not appear to be liberation. If through material conceptions one displays indifference to objects that are related to Hari by performing austerity devoid of service to the Supreme Lord, and by crossing beyond temporary conceptions of material enjoyment based on the existence of the seer, the object of vision, and the act of seeing, then one attains aversion to the service of the Supreme Lord. The interpretation of liberation by ignorant, foolish people who declare that the state of being devoid of devotion amounts to the desire for liberation is considered faulty according to the proper understanding of the Lord's devotees. Jnanavanta tapasvi ajanma udasin bhagavata porai tatapi bhaktihin. He was intelligent, austere, and neutral since birth. He taught Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, yet he was devoid of devotion. Bhaktihin. Bhagavate maha adhyapaka loke ghoshe marma artha na janen bhaktihin doshe jani bar jogyata achaye kichutan kon aparade nahe Krishna se praman. People respected him as a great teacher of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Yet, because he was devoid of devotion, he did not know the confidential purport. Even though he had some qualification to understand, he was unable because of some offense that only Krishna knew. Oh, wow. Bhavatarni, no, sorry, Nrihari Prabhu just shared this news that Jagadatri Mataji, she left her body today in Hawaii at around noon. So we can all pray for Jagadatri Mataji as well.
Yeah, Bhavatrini used my phone to, because it was Bhavatrini's best friend, did Harinam Sankirtan. She headed, Jagadatri headed all the team of ladies and young ladies. She had a back team program in Los Angeles. And with Bhavatrini, they traveled all over the place, collecting for the Gurukula in Vrindavan. And so they became, very good friends. And we just find out today, about an hour ago.
Is it Ekadashi there today?
Yeah, so it was auspicious. Mata Kusha, she did a chart and it says it was very auspicious. Departure at the time was at 12 noon.
Wow, that's 12 noon's also like some of the highest pastimes of Radha and Krishna also, right? When they're at Radha Kund.
Yeah.
And Akadashi, so that's really, really auspicious.
She did so much service, so we begged, today we went to our altar here and we have our Gornitai, and she had Radharaman, those were her deities, and always so generous. She fed prasadam to everybody, of course, including us. We used to bring her some milk, but she would always feed us, no matter what. So it was always some Mahaprasadam to be distributed. And she was a fantastic preacher. She could talk to anybody. I mean, that's why she was such a good book distributor too, and convince them, and make them understand what was Krishna consciousness. She was very, very good at that. People loved her.
Jagadatri Mataji ki jai.
Hi.
Thank you for sharing that, Prabhu.
Sure.
Okay, so Devānanda Paṇḍita was intelligent, austere, and neutral since birth. He taught Śrīmad Bhāgavatam but was devoid of devotion. Even though he had some qualification to understand, he was unable because of some offense that only Krishna knew. Gaudiya Bhashya. Although ordinary people respected Devānanda Paṇḍita as an authority on Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, because he lacked an inclination towards the service of the Supreme Lord, he had no qualification to understand the purport of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Every living entity is a Vaishnav. So as a living entity, Devānanda Paṇḍita also had the qualification for understanding the confidential meaning of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. But since that understanding was dormant in him, he committed an offense out of ignorance. That is why his qualification to understand was absent at that time. Krishna is the supersoul in the heart of the living entity. Therefore, Krishna alone, not short-sighted living entities, knew for what offense Devānanda had committed an offense, despite teaching and studying Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Daive Prabhu Bhakta Shange She Pate Jai Je Khanete Tanav Vyakya Shuni Bare Pai. By providence, the Lord and his devotees were going on that same road, where they then heard his recitation. Sarva Bhuta Hridaya Janaye Sarva Tattva Nashunaye Vyakya Bhakti Jogir Mahatva. Being situated in the hearts of all living entities, the Lord knows everything. He did not hear the glories of devotional service in that recitation. Gaudiya Bhashya. Sri Yamunacharya has written that non-devotees are naturally offensive to the Supreme Lord and the devotees of the Lord. In the consideration of Nam Aparad, it is also found that conditioned souls are unable to realize the Supreme Lord or themselves if they are offensive to saintly Vaishnavas. Because of committing offenses, a living entity is overcome by ignorance. That is why, even though the living entity is not responsible, his ignorance is. Many foolish people consider Krishna and his pastimes to be mythical, and their temporary imagination to be authentic. When they become free from offenses, they attain deliverance from direct sensual pratyaksha and hypothetical anuman, mundane understanding, by accepting Krishna as the only authority, Praman. In this regard, one should discuss the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam verse beginning Naisha Matis Tavad Urukramang Grim. And they gave the translation here, which wasn't in the original Chaitanya-bhāgavata, but we'll just read it so we understand. So one should discuss this Śrīmad Bhāgavatam verse, which says, unless they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnav, completely freed from material contamination, persons very much inclined towards materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord in this way can one be freed from material contamination. That's Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 7:531. Sitting in the hearts of all living entities, Lord Shri Gaur Hari is aware of everything. Lord Gaurasundar is fully aware of the insignificance of processes like Karma Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Raja Yoga. And in order to spread the glories of Bhakti Yoga in this world, and to bestow the highest benediction on the living entities, he has revealed these topics. He therefore never approved of any topics that did not glorify devotional service, that did not glorify Bhakti. Kope bole Prabhu beta ki artha bakhane, Bhagavata artha kon janme o na jane. In anger, the Lord said, what kind of explanation can this fellow give? He has never understood the meaning of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam in any of his lifetimes. Gaudiya Bhashya. A Mahābhagavat possesses 26 transcendental qualities. Among them, surrender to Krishna is always the principal transcendental quality. These transcendental qualities are present in both the Supreme Lord and the devotees. That is why, in foolish people's concept of what is averse to devotional service, the display of anger in the form of instructions that cut apart material desires to counteract the living entity's unfavorable desires is called anger. The attitude displayed by a person full of anarthas when his material desires are unfulfilled is extremely abominable. So this is auspicious, wonderful, glorious anger, Mahaprabhu's anger, because it cuts, what is it? Yeah. It cuts apart material desires. Sri Gaurasundar manifested this pastime of anger to reveal that there can never be any fault in the attitude of devotees of the Lord. There can never be any fault in the attitude devotees of the Lord display for the benefit of the people who are averse to the service of the Lord. Those following the principle of superficiality, who read many portions of scriptures, consider Śrīmad Bhāgavatam as one of the many scriptures, and being devoid of religious principles, they consider it an ordinary scripture. Therefore, they are unable at any time to understand the purport of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam or the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their material desires from many lifetimes do not allow them to understand the purport of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Despite their recitation of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, they remain afflicted with the defect of being devoid of devotional service because of their desires separate from Krishna. E betar bhagavate kon adhikar, grantha rupe bhagavata Krishna avatar. What qualification does this fellow have to speak on Śrīmad Bhāgavatam? Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is the incarnation of Lord Krishna in the form of a book. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word beta refers here to an insignificant, ignorant person. As a child in ignorance displays foolishness before his father, and as a father or instructor addresses ignorant people as fools, the address of beta reveals such a proper mood. Those persons unable to enter into the purport of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, who confine the subject matters indicated by the words of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam to material desires, can never enter into topics related to the Supreme Lord. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is full of topics related to Krishna. When those topics of Krishna enter the ear, Krishna directly manifests. The contaminations in the form of material topics, or the two demons Madhu and Kaitava, who are like dirt within the ear, are destroyed. This is called Karna Vedha Samskar, the purificatory process of piercing the ears. If we accept the material covering on our spiritual ears, then words related to the material enjoyment agitate our hearts. Then subject matters not related to Krishna become our desired goal. But when pure, uncontaminated living entities properly hear Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, then the chanting of spiritual names, the hearing of spiritual forms, the hearing of spiritual qualities, the hearing of the glories of spiritual associates, and the hearing of topics regarding spiritual pastimes manifests within their hearts. They are then able to realize that their hearts are non-different from Vrindavan. That is where Krishna Chandra resides, in Vrindavan, in the hearts, the non-different from Vrindavan hearts of the devotees. Shave Purushartha Bhakti Bhagavate Hoy, Prem Rupa Bhagavata Chari Vede Koy. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, devotional service is described as the ultimate goal of life. The four Vedas declare that Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is the manifestation of ecstatic love. Gaudiya Bhashya. All Vedic literatures glorify Śrīmad Bhāgavatam as the science of the ultimate goal of life in the form of prem. The sense enjoyers normally consider religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification as the goals of life, and the renunciates imagine liberation as the goal of life. But the pure devotees, who are transcendental to the sense enjoyers, and the renunciates, who are experts in worshiping the Supreme Lord, they give up considerations of the four objectives of life: religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. And they accept love of Krishna as the purport of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. When karma, jnana, yoga, study of the scriptures, and other processes for achieving the goal of life become ardently aimed at attaining the actual goal of life, then their own existence becomes lost, and they merge into devotional service. All these karma, jnana, yoga, study of the scriptures, all processes, all these, they become lost and merge into devotional service. Charive dodhi bhagavata navanita. Mathilen shuke khailen parikshita. The four Vedas are like yogurt, and Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is like butter. Shukadeva Goswami churned, and Parikshit Maharaj relished the result. Haribol Sudevi Didi. Gaudiya Bhashya. The Vedic literatures have been compared with yogurt. Shukadev churns that yogurt, and as a result, butter in the form of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which is the purport of the Vedas, was produced. Sri Parikshit renounced material enjoyment and received the purport of all Vedic literatures from Sri Shukadev. The site of Hastinapur is situated on the border of the Meerut district, at the edge of Muzaffarnagar district, near the locality of Bukharahedi subdivision of the Bhopal police station, lies the village of Shukaratal. Oh, I've been there before. Where Sri Parikshit Maharaj sat down on the bank of the Gaṅgā and heard the purport of the Vedas from Sri Shukadev within 1 week. Just as butter, the essence of yogurt, is extracted by churning, Prem Bhakti, the essence of the Vedas, is extracted by removing insignificant sediments like Karma-khaṇḍa, fruit of activities, and Jnana-khaṇḍa, mental speculation. Since Parikshit gave up all other topics and accepted this essence, exalted devotees are known as Saragrahi, or those who accept the essence. Because of bad association, pseudo devotees accept the principles of enjoying the fruits of work and renouncing the fruits of work. In this way, they pollute their existence by taking on such burdens. One should accept the pure essence devoid of sediment, rather than other essences mixed with sediment. Such is the food and drink of a self-realized soul. Although among people fond of sediments, those who enjoy the fruits of work make a show of grossly carrying burdens, and those who renounce the fruits of work make a show of externally being free of burdens, they all subtly carry heavy burdens. Both are averse to accepting the essence. They are not saragrahi. Mor priya shukar se janen bhagavat, bhagavate kohe mor tattva abhimata. My dear Shukadev knows the purport of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which describes the science of my glories and position. Mui mor das ar granta bhagavate, jar bheda achetar nasha bhalo mate. Anyone who discriminates between me, my servant, and the book Bhagavatam is certainly destroyed. Gaudiya Bhashya. Those who do not understand the science of Vishnu and the Vaishnavas, and who discriminate between the Supreme Lord and the devotees, they certainly invites their own inauspiciousness. Unless one enters into the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, he cannot properly describe topics of the Supreme Lord. How can he talk about that which you haven't seen? And if you're not serving, you can only understand Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and describe the pastimes of Krishna if you have fully a service mood, like 100%. So Shukadeva Goswami certainly knows Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which is full of topics regarding the Supreme Lord. It is reported that Mahadev once said, I know Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Shukadev knows Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, and the author of Shri Vyasadeva, because of insufficient pure service to his spiritual master, after taking shelter of his spiritual master, wait, it looks like there's something missing. Anyways, sorry about that. So Mahadev said, I know Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Shukadev knows Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. The author of Vyasadeva, because of insufficient pure service to his spiritual master, after taking shelter of his spiritual master, compiled many scriptures for the benefit of those aspiring for religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. He may or may not know Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. I think there's a line missing here. Anyways, so Vyasadeva may or may not know. But while writing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which is the only purport of all Vaishnava scriptures, he described the pastimes of Krishna with a mentality based on condemnation of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Yet, by not giving prominence to topics concerning Sri Varshabhanavi Devi, and by displaying caution in his narration because of ordinary people's disqualifications, he portrayed himself as understanding some things and not understanding others. Interesting. I've never heard that explanation before. Vyasaveti naveti va. But since Tridandi Swami Sridhar, a worshipper of Sri Nrsimha, was, by the mercy of the Lord, inclined towards the service of the Lord, he properly understood the purport of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and the service of Gopijana Vallabha. By the influence of chanting the Lord's names, Sridhar, the protector of devotional service, and his brother Lakshmidhar displayed a qualification for understanding the names, forms, qualities, pastimes, and associates of the Lord. Since those readers of Sridhar's commentary who are opposed to Sridhar and desirous of material enjoyment or liberation are non-devotees, they are perpetually cheated from such mercy. Although in the activities of the Kanishta Adhikaris there is some introductory understanding of the Supreme Lord, if such Kanishta Adhikaris disregard a devotee, they will fall from even that platform. Therefore, those who have invited inauspiciousness by attributing differences between the Lord's associates and the Lord's qualities, or the Lord and his devotees, they do not know loving devotional service as the ultimate goal of life. So in spite of receiving the human form of life, they're simply committing suicide. Bhagavate tattva prabhu kohe krodaveshe shuniya vaishnavgan mahanande bhashe. In anger, the Lord narrated the glories of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, and the Vaishnavas floated in an ocean of bliss as they listened. Gaudiya Bhashya. Devānanda Paṇḍita was desirous of liberation. According to his conceptions based on conditioned life, he highly regarded activities like austerities and detachment. He had no conception at all regarding spiritual life. Since he was absorbed in the idea that the goal of life is to become liberated from this world, he was unable to grasp the purport of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. No one covered by karma or jnana attains self-realization. Therefore, they are unable to realize the eternal nature of worshiping the Supreme Lord. When people who are forgetful of the self and bereft of the Supreme Lord's service display indifference towards the service of the Lord, and when they consider this the goal of life, then the most merciful Sri Gaurasundar manifests detachment from such behavior of the non-devotees. To reveal for their benefit that such behavior is extremely abominable and unnecessary, the Lord disclosed that both enjoying or renouncing the fruits of karma are extremely improper. On seeing this angry mood of the Lord, the Vaishnavas became jubilant. Bhakti binu Bhagavata J.R. Vakhane Prabhu bole she adhama kichui na jane. Regarding one who explains Śrīmad Bhāgavatam without referring to devotional service, the Lord says, She Adam Kichui na jane. That rascal does not know a thing. Gaudiya Bhashya. Whenever the absolute truth is the monist's object of knowledge, oneness of the three, that is knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower, becomes their main priority. The yogis try to achieve kaivalya, or merging into the existence of the Lord. They try to attain that kaivalya by trying to unite with Garbhadakshay Vishnu. This is not the case with the devotees of the Lord. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, there are descriptions about the Lord's pastimes, transcendental qualities, forms, and names. The eternally liberated devotees of the Lord, the devotees who have achieved liberation through sadhana, and the servants of the Lord who are engaged in devotional service do not consider anything other than the eternal service of the Supreme Lord as the goal of life. Therefore, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam contains nothing other than the topics regarding the eternal servant's service to the Lord. The aim of the Lord was to reveal this. Those who find in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam something other than eternal service to the Lord are understood to be extremely foolish. Niravadi bhakti hin e beta bakhane aji punta chiribo de koho vidyamane. This fellow never mentions devotional service. The Lord said, this fellow never mentions devotional service in his explanations. Watch how I tear up his book today. Wow, heavy. Gaudiya Bhashya. Since non-devotees are devoid of the principle of service, whenever they describe the activities of desiring material enjoyment, attaining the fruits of karma, and searching after impersonal Brahman, they are cheated from accepting the purport of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. When Śrīmad Mahāprabhu heard the non-devotional explanation of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, he said, there is no need for a Bhāgavatam that inspires non-devotional topics in the hearts of its readers, and that is filled with a cheating propensity. Therefore, I will not accept such a Śrīmad Bhāgavatam as the form of the Supreme Lord. I will consider it a product of matter, and I will tear it up with the understanding that it is fit to be destroyed by Rudra. The understanding of conditioned souls who consider Śrīmad Bhāgavatam an object of enjoyment progressively increases their lust. Therefore, it is the intention of the Supreme Lord to stop the recitation of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam by materialists who consider it an object of their enjoyment. Punti chiri bare Prabhu krodaveshe jai shakal Vaishnavagan dhoriya rahai. In anger, the Lord went to tear up the book, but the Vaishnavas all held him back. Mahāchintya-bhāgavat sarva shastre gai ihana bujhiye vidya tapa pratishtai. All the scriptures glorify Śrīmad Bhāgavatam as the most sublime literature. Yet this cannot be understood through education, austerity, or fame. Gaudiya Bhashya. All the scriptures give evidence that one can never understand the purport of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam as long as one is absorbed in mundane enjoyment or mundane renunciation. Therefore, as long as one cultivates mundane education, mundane austerity, or mundane fame, there is no possibility of understanding the Supreme Lord's topics, which belong to the kingdom beyond material perception. Bhagavata bhuji heno jar ache gyan, she na jane kabo bhagavater praman. One who thinks, I understand Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, that person does not actually know the conclusion of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Gaudiya Bhashya. Those who think that they have attained the qualification for understanding Śrīmad Bhāgavatam while considering it an object of their enjoyment, those people cannot understand any portion of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. The object established by Śrīmad Bhāgavatam can never be a subject comprehensible to material senses. Bhagavate achintya Ishwar buddhi jar, she janaye Bhagavata artha bhakti sar. One who accepts Śrīmad Bhāgavatam as the inconceivable Supreme Lord knows that pure devotional service is the purport of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Gaudiya Bhashya. Those who know that recitation of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is a direct form of the Supreme Lord, those who do not consider Śrīmad Bhāgavatam mundane, and those who regulate their material intelligence by the teachings of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, they can understand that worship of the Supreme Lord is the essence of everything. And they understand that the ultimate goal of life, taught by Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Okay, I'm going to walk around a bit while I read, so that I don't. One second. We worked till like midnight last night on the Gaudiya Kirtana, so I'm a bit late night. Sarva Gune Devānanda Paṇḍita Saman. Pandit Saman Paite Virala Boro Heno Gyanavan. Devānanda Pandit was filled with all good qualities. Such an educated person is very rare. Sheshab Loker Jatha Bhāgavate Brahm Tate Je Anyar Garva Tar Shasta Jamam. Yet Yamaraj punishes one who glorifies such reciters. So Yamaraj punishes one who glorifies such reciters who have misunderstood Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Gaudiya Bhashya. Yamaraj, the bestower of punishment and reward, and the judge of good and bad, that Yamaraj awards punishment to those who endeavor to increase the prestige of learned scholars, who in spite of being educated and filled with all good qualities and ingenuity, they can become mistaken while abstracting the true meaning of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Bhagavata podaiya karo buddhinash ninde avadhuta chande jagat nivas. One who reads Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and blasphemes Avadhut Nityananda, the refuge of the universe, loses his sense of discrimination. Gaudiya Bhashya. One who externally recites Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, yet has no faith in Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is situated on the platform of Avadhut Paramahamsa, and who is the basis of all existence throughout the universe, that person becomes disturbed because of the absence of steady intelligence. Even though learned scholars devoid of devotional service think, we have attained the qualification to understand Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, but because they blaspheme the shelter of the origin of devotional service, it is to be understood that they have never attained any qualification for understanding Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. E mata pratidin Prabhu Vishwambar Brahmaye Nagar Sarva Shange Anuchar. In this way, Lord Vishwambar daily wandered throughout the city in the company of his followers. Ekadin Thakur Paṇḍita Shange Kori Nagar Brahmaye Vishwambar Gorahari. One day, Lord Vishwambar was wandering in the city along with Shivas Pandit. Nagarer ante ache madhya-per ghar jaite paila ganda Prabhu Vishwambar. As Lord Vishwambar was passing by a tavern at the edge of town, while he was passing by a tavern at the edge of town, he smelled the wine. A tavern is a pub. Okay. Madhya-khaṇḍe varunir hoilo smaran Balaram bhava hoilo Shachir nandan. On smelling the wine, the son of Shachi remembered Varuni and assumes the mood of Balaram. Gaudiya Bhashya. Lord Gaurasundar is the original personality of Godhead. Therefore, the pastimes of his first expansion are included in him. His first expansion, does that mean is Swayam Prakash? Yeah. Śrī Baladeva Prabhu, who is under the shelter of Sambhogaras, the mellows of enjoyment, becomes intoxicated by drinking Varuni. Remembering this, Lord Gaurasundar became absorbed in the mood of Baladev and forgot the pastimes of the external world. Bahya Pashariya Prabhu Koroye Hunkar Utho Giya Shiva Sere Bole Bar Bar. Losing his external consciousness, the Lord roared loudly, and he repeatedly told Shivas, I will go in, I will go in. Prabhu bole Srinivas, e utho giya, mana kore Srinivas, charane dhuriya. The Lord said, Oh Srivas, I am going in. But Srinivas grabbed his feet and forbade him from entering. Prabhu bole more o ki vidhi pratished, tatapiha Srinivas koroye nished. The Lord said, Am I also subjected to rules and regulations? Nevertheless, Srivas stopped him. Gaudiya Bhashya. When Srivas Pandit forbade Mahaprabhu from entering the tavern, Mahaprabhu told him that he was beyond the rules and regulations, so there was no need for setting an example to the world by stopping him from entering. Srivasa boloye tumi jagater pita, tumi khoi korile bake arakita. Shiva said, "You are the father of the universe. If you break the religious principles, who will protect them? If you break the religious principles, then who will protect them? Na buji tomar lila, nindibe je jan, janme janme dukhe tar, hoibe maran." If one who is unable to understand your pastimes blasphemes you, he will suffer birth after birth. Nitya dharma moy tumi prabhu sanatan, e lila tomar buji bek kona jan. You are the eternal personification of religion, and you are the primeval Lord. Who can understand your pastimes? Jadi tumi uthogiya madhyaper ghare, pravishta hoimo mui Gaṅgār bhitore. If you enter this tavern, I will give up my life by entering the Gaṅgā. Bhakter sankalpa prabhu na kore langhan, hase prabhu Shrivaser shuniya bachan. The Lord never breaks his devotees' resolutions. On hearing Srivasa's words, the Lord simply smiled. Prabhu bole tomar nahi ko jate. Prabhu bole tomar nahi ko jate icha, na uthibo tor bakya na koribo micha. The Lord said, I will not enter if that is your desire. I will not make your words false. Gaudiya Bhashya. When in spite of Srivas forbidding Śrīmad Mahaprabhu from entering the tavern, the Lord said that he would not listen to his devotees' requests, then Srivas Pandit decided to drown himself in the waters of the Gaṅgā. On hearing this, Lord Śrī Gaurasundar gave up his own resolution to act contrary to his devotees' desire. Lord Gaurasundar did not give up the principles of pure goodness and approve any topics born of the modes of passion or ignorance. But in this case, when the exalted devotee Srivas saw that the opportunity for enacting pastimes in mixed goodness was arising, he properly expressed his determination to stop Śrī Gaurasundar from doing so. Many people think that since Śrī Gaurasundar is omnipotent, he is able to incorporate the modes of passion and ignorance in his pastimes. But the actual pure devotees of the Lord give up such conceptions of pure goodness, and thereby do not establish the Supreme Lord as a sanctioner of adulterated pastimes. Shrivasa vachane samvariya rama bhav, dhire dhire rajapate chale mahabhav. On hearing the words of Srivas, the Lord gave up the mood of Balaram. Thereafter, the glorious Lord continued walking slowly down the main road. Madhyapane matta shab, thakure dekhiya, hari hari bole shab, dakiya dakiya. When the intoxicated drunkards saw the Lord, they called out, Hari Hari, Hari Hari. Keho bole bhalo bhalo, nimai Paṇḍita, bhalo bhav lage bhalo, gaye nata gita. One of them said, Nimai Pandit is a good person. He is well behaved. And he sings and dances nicely. Right? That's the drunkard speaking, I think. Yeah. Gaudiya Bhashya. When Nimai Pandit displayed the mood of an intoxicated person as he walked down the main street without entering the tavern, some people began to glorify him and praise his Oh wait, I'm not sure if this is referring to the drunkards. Anyways, it says some people. Some people began to glorify him and praise his expertise in musical arts like dancing, singing, and harmonizing. Oh, I think it was the drunkards. Yeah, it was. Hari boli hate tali diya keho nache, ullase madhyapagan jai tana pache. As the drunkards followed the Lord in jubilation, some clapped their hands and danced while chanting the name of Hari. Gaudiya Bhashya. Some of the drunkards joyfully folded their hands, danced, and chanted the names of Hari as they followed Gaurasundar. Having received the association of the Lord and his devotees, The drunkards also became intoxicated in the mellows of devotional service to Hari. So when we're doing Nagar Sankirtan and a drunkard comes up and starts to dance with us, we can just remember this pastime of the Lord. Just plugging in. Okay. Hari bolo, jai Narayan, boliya anande nache madhya gan. The drunkards joyfully danced and sang, Hari bol, jai Narayan. Mahahari dwani kore madhya gane, e mata hoy Vishnu Vaishnava darshane. The drunkards made a great commotion while chanting the name of Hari. Such is the result of seeing Vishnu and the Vaishnavas. Madhya cheshta deki Vishwambar hase, Anande Shivaskande deki parakashe. While seeing the activities of the drunkards, Vishwambar laughed and Shivas cried in ecstasy. Madhyape o Shukpai Chaitanya dekhiya, ekale nindae papi sannyasi dekhiya. Even drunkards felt happy to see Lord Chaitanya, whereas sinful sannyasis who saw him simply engaged in blasphemy. Gaudiya Bhashya. Even the drunkards were happy to see Mahaprabhu. Only sinful people without any understanding, only they misused the principles of renunciation and engaged in blasphemy. Chaitanya Chandra Jashe Jar Mane Dukh Kon Janme Ashame Nahi Kotar Sukh. One who feels unhappy on hearing the glories of Lord Chaitanya does not attain happiness in any birth or in any ashram. Gaudiya Bhashya. Those who feel unhappy on hearing about each of Mahaprabhu's activities, those who feel unhappy on hearing about each of Mahaprabhu's activities and glories, they are never able to achieve happiness in any birth or ashram. Jai dekhilo Chaitanya Chandrer avatar, hok madhyapatavu tare namaskar. I offer my obeisances to anyone, even a drunkard, who saw the incarnation of Śrī Caitanya Chandra. Gaudiya Bhashya. Since all those drunkards continued to engage in sinful activities even after receiving the opportunity to associate with Sri Mahaprabhu during his manifested pastimes, doubts may arise in Śrī Caitanya-dev's preaching of pastimes in the mood of pure goodness. But the author nevertheless offers his obeisances to such fortunate people, because he considers that even though those sinful drunkards may have had some sinful reactions remaining from their previous sinful activities, through excessive piety, they receive the opportunity to sing the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Lord, so their rarely attained good fortune is certainly fit for glorification. Madhyapere Shubhadrishti Kori Vishwambar Nijaveshe Brahme Prabhu Nagare Nagar. After glancing mercifully on the drunkards, Vishwambar continued to wander about the city in his own ecstatic mood. Kotadure dekhiya Paṇḍita Devānanda Mahakrode kichutare bole Gora Chandra. After walking some distance, Gaurachandra saw Devānanda Paṇḍita and spoke to him in anger. Devānanda Paṇḍiter Shivaser sthane purva aparadha ache taha hoilo mane. The Lord remembered how Devānanda Paṇḍita had previously committed an offense against Shivas Paṇḍita. Sheshamoye nahi kichu prabhur prakash prem shunya jagate dukhita shabdas. At that time, the Lord had not yet revealed himself, so the entire world was suffering in the absence of love of God. Jadiva porai keho Gita Bhagavat tathapi na shune keho bhakti abhimata. Even though some people taught Bhagavad Gita or Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, topics regarding devotional service were never heard from them. Gaudiya Bhashya. Among the teachers of that time, some taught Bhagavad Gita and some taught Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. But since there is an absence of inclination for the Lord's service in those teachers' behavior, they had no information about devotional service. Sheshamoye Devānanda Parama Mahanta Loke Boro Apekshita Parama Sushanta. At that time, Devānanda Paṇḍita was highly regarded by people as a most sober, saintly person. Gaudiya Bhashya. Devānanda Paṇḍita was peaceful and endowed with many good qualities. Therefore, since people highly regarded him, he was not disrespected. Bhāgavata adhyapana kore nirantar akumar sanyasir pray vratadhar. He always taught Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. From his childhood, he had maintained a vow to remain like a sannyasi. Gaudiya Bhashya. Devānanda taught Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and maintained celibacy since his childhood by taking a vow like that of a sannyasi. But because he was devoid of devotional service, his celibacy turned into aversion. His celibacy turned into aversion to the service of the devotees. Therefore, in spite of taking the vow of celibacy and pursuing the path of renunciation, he was unable to take advantage of such good qualities. Daive ekadin tata gela Srinivas Bhagavata shunite koriya abhilash. One day, by providence, Srinivas went to hear Śrīmad Bhāgavatam from him. Akshare akshare Bhagavata premamoy Shruniya dravila Srinivaser hriday. Every syllable of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is filled with ecstatic love. So Srinivas's heart melted on hearing that recitation. Bhagavata Shuniya Kandaye Srinivas Mahābhāgavata Vipra Chare Ghana Shvas. As the Mahabhagavat Brahman Srinivas listens to Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, he began to cry and sigh deeply. Papishta padua bole hoilo janjal porite na pae bhai vyartha jai kal. The sinful students there said, This is a disturbance. Oh, brothers, we are unable to study and our time is being wasted. Gaudiya Bhashya. Those who want to achieve academic perfection and worldly fame by studying Śrīmad Bhāgavatam from Devānanda Paṇḍita could not understand the devotional sentiments of Śrīvas Paṇḍita during that recitation of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. When those students who were situated on the material platform saw symptoms of ecstatic love like tears, shivering, and stretching in the body of Śrīvas, they considered those symptoms obstacles in their hearing of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Samvarana nahe Srinivaser rodhan Chaitanyer priya deha jagat pavan Papishta parua sab jukati koriya Bahire edilo loya Shrivase taniya. Shrivas's crying could not be checked. Although Shrivas was most dear to Lord Chaitanya and he purified the entire world, the sinful students conspired together and then dragged him outside. Gaudiya Bhashya. Because Shrivas's continuous crying disturbed the students' studies, they were unable to understand that Shrivas, who is Śrī Caitanya Dev's most intimate associate, was the deliverer of the entire world. The suddenly arising symptoms of ecstatic love found in the spiritual body of Shrivas brought all kinds of purification to this world. Yet because the students could not understand this, they forcibly grabbed Shrivas and threw him out of the classroom. Devānanda Paṇḍita na koilo nivaran, Guru jatha bhakti shunya tata shishyagan. Devānanda Paṇḍita did not stop them. As the Guru was devoid of devotional service, So were his students. Guru Jata Bhakti Shunya Tata Shishyagan. Gaudiya Bhashya. If Devānanda Paṇḍita had even a little inclination towards the service of the Supreme Lord, he would have certainly stopped his foolish students from taking part in such a non-devotional act. Therefore, both Devānanda Paṇḍita and the students were engaged in a material enjoyment and cultivation of false logic. Śrīvas Paṇḍita did not get the opportunity to relish the actual meaning of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, so he returned home in distress. Because Lord Śrī Caitanya-dev is a supersoul, he knew about this offense committed by Devānanda. Bahya pay dukhete Śrīvasa gela ghar, taha sab jane antaryami Vishvambar. After regaining his external consciousness, Śrīvas returned home in distress. Vishvambar, as the supersoul, knew all about this incident. Devānanda darashane hoilo smaran, krodha mukhe bole Prabhu Shachir Nandan. Ai Devānanda boli je tomare, tumi ebe Bhagavata podao shabare. Je Śrīvase dekite Gaṅgār manoratha, heno jan gela shuni bare Bhagavata. Kon aparade tane shishya hataiya, barir bahire loya edila taniya. Bhagavata shunite je khande Krishna rase, taniya phelite ki tahar jogya aise. As soon as the son of Shachi saw Devānanda, he immediately remembered this incident, and in an angry mood he said, "O Devānanda, let me tell you something. Now you are teaching Śrīmad Bhāgavatam to everyone. Śrīvas, whom even the Gaṅgā desires to see, once went to hear Śrīmad Bhāgavatam from you. But what offense of his did you have your students throw him out of your house? Is it proper to throw out someone who, after hearing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, is crying in love for Krishna?" Gaudiya Bhashya. As soon as Gaurasundar saw Devānanda, he immediately remembered the harassment of his devotee and said, "By hearing the recitation of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, one's heart melts. Only people who are engaged in enjoying the external world are able to maintain hard hearts. When the sentiments of Śrīvas Paṇḍita were at their climax, you and your students deprived him from the act of hearing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam because you did not understand him. Even Gaṅgā Devi, who is carried on the head of Shiva, descends to this world in the form of a river to see a devotee like Śrīvas. Therefore, the offense you have committed by having your students forcibly throw Śrīvas out has made you completely averse to the Lord. Why did you and your students consider the behavior of Śrīvas, the ideal devotee, as fit for condemnation?" Bhujilam tumi she padao bhagavat, kon janme na jano ho grantha abhimata. I can understand that even though you teach Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, you have not realized its purport in any of your lifetimes. Gaudiya Bhashya. Although Devānanda was a teacher of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, birth after birth, he never had the good fortune to understand the purport of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Paripurna koriya je sab jane khai, tabe bahir deshe giya she santosha pai. Premamoy Bhagavata podaiya tumi, tatta shuka na paila kohilam ami. One who eats to his full satisfaction feels happy when he goes out in the world. But I tell you that even though you teach Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which is full of ecstatic love, you have not achieved happiness. Gaudiya Bhashya. Some persons explain these verses as follows. They say, "From your recitation of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, you have not even achieved the insignificant satisfaction one attains while wandering while wandering around after filling one's hunger-afflicted stomach. What to speak of invoking relishment of love of God, which is the fruit of studying Śrīmad Bhāgavatam? Your explanations are even unable to invoke mitigation of ordinary distress. Shuniya vachan Devānanda Dvijavara Lajai rahila kichu na kore uttar Krodha veshe boliya chalila Vishvambar Dukita chalila Devānanda nijaghar Tatapiha Devānanda boro punyavanta Vachane o prabhu chare korilen danda Chaitanyar danda maha sukriti shepai Jar dande morile vaikunte loka jai. After hearing the Lord's words, the exalted Brahman Devānanda felt ashamed and did not offer any reply. Vishvambar departed after angrily chastising Devānanda, and Devānanda returned home in distress. Yet Devānanda was most fortunate, for the Lord personally chastised him. Only a most fortunate person receives punishment from Lord Chaitanya. If one dies as a result of the Lord's punishment, he attains Vaikuntha. Gaudiya Bhashya. After hearing the words of Sri Mahaprabhu, Devānanda Paṇḍita felt ashamed. When Devānanda Paṇḍita received punishment in the form of the Lord's chastisement, his good fortune was awakened. Those who are killed by Lord Vishnu attain liberation. Therefore, the Lord's verbal chastisement of Devānanda became the source of his future good fortune. Chaitanyar danda je mastake kori loy, she danda tare prem bhakti yoga hoy. One who faithfully accepts Lord Chaitanya's punishment attains ecstatic love as a result. Gaudiya Bhashya. Those who do not respect Śrī Caitanya-dev's offering of punishment cannot understand the actual characteristics of loving devotional service. Those who accept the Lord's punishment as the source of their own auspiciousness certainly receive the opportunity to attain prema bhakti. Chaitanya dande jar chitte nahi bhoy, janme janme she papishta jama dandya hoy. A sinful person who does not fear Lord Chaitanya's punishment is fit for Yamaraja's punishment life after life. Gaudiya Bhashya. The sinful-minded person whose heart is not moved by the displeasure of Śrī Caitanya-dev is punished by Yamaraj birth after birth. Bhāgavata tulasī Gaṅgā bhakta jane chaturda vigraha Krishna e chari sane. Krishna appears in this world in 4 forms. That's Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Tulasī, Gaṅgā, and the devotees. Gaudiya Bhashya. Sri Krishna manifests his own form in 4 representations in this world. Although if one abruptly sees these 4 representations, one does not recognize them as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, these 4 representations related to the Supreme Lord are worshipped as manifestations of the Lord. The Vaishnavas, Tulasī, Gaṅgā, and Śrīmad Bhāgavatam are 4 manifestations of Krishna. Tulasī, Gaṅgā, and Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, and Vaishnavas. These are the 4 manifestations of Krishna. Very nice. Jivanyasa korile shi murti puja hoy janma matra e chari ishwar vede koy. By invoking life in the deity form of the Lord, that form becomes worshipable. But it is stated in the Vedas that these 4 representations are the Supreme Lord from the time of their appearance. There's no need to do a pran pratishtha. They're always, yes. Gaudiya Bhashya. According to external consideration, when one invokes life into the deity form of the Lord, that form becomes worshipable. Although Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, tulasī, Gaṅgā, and the Vaishnavas are seen as enjoyable objects in this material world, they are none different from the Supreme Lord and worshipable object, even without invoking life in them. This is the verdict of Vedic literatures that award spiritual knowledge. Chaitanya katar adi anta nahi jani, jete mate Chaitanyer jasha bakhani. I do not know the beginning or end of topics concerning Śrī Caitanya, yet somehow or other I am describing his glories. Chaitanya daser paye mor namaskar, ite aparada kichu nahuk amar. I offer my obeisances at the feet of Lord Chaitanya's servants, so that they may not consider my offenses. Madhya-khaṇḍa katha jeno amriter khanda, je katha shunile ghuche antar pashanda. The topics of the Madhya-khaṇḍa are like pots of nectar. By hearing these topics, the atheism within one's heart is vanquished. Chaitanya priya deha nityananda rai, Prabhu bhritya shange jena na chare amai. Lord Nityananda is most dear to Śrī Caitanya. May the Lord and his servant never forsake me. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Chanda Jan, Vrindavana Dasa Tachu Pada Juge Gan. Accepting Shri Krishna Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Thus ends the English translation of the Gaudiya Bhashya commentary on the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, on the Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata, Madhya-khaṇḍa, chapter 21, entitled The Lord's Chastisement of Devānanda. Jai Deva, Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai, Jai Shri Vas Thakur ki Jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki Jai, Shri Devānanda Paṇḍita ki Jai. Okay, wow, we ended early. I thought we were going to end late today. Well, not late, but that. So anyways, that was an experiment. And now we know that if 7,392 words, if I just start reading that from the beginning without any pauses, like to read any summary or anything like that, I can read a lot of words. That's really helpful to know. Okay, so tomorrow we are going to read, let me just open this up. So tomorrow we're going to hear about delivering Shachi Devi from offense and description of Nityananda's qualities. So this chapter describes how Srimad Mahaprabhu cautioned everyone by displaying the gravity of Vaishnav Aparad, by using his mother as an example. And this is the same amount of words as as today. This is also 7,401 words, but I think tomorrow is Srila Trivikram Goswami Maharaj's his appearance day, his Vyas Puja. So we'll just read, I think tomorrow we'll read about Srila Trivikram Goswami Maharaj. And then we will read Chaitanya Bhāgavata one more day. And then the next day is my Gurudev's Vyas Puja. So Srila Trivikram Goswami Maharaj, that chapter of Chaitanya Bhāgavata, then my Gurudev's glories. Maybe for 2 days we could read about my Gurudev, because actually there's a big confusion here. Many people are following on the 9th and many people are following on the 10th. Even in our own Keshavji Gaudiya Math in Navadip, I called the 2 people in charge to find out what day they're celebrating, and Madhusudan Prabhu said the 9th, and then Dayanidhi Prabhu said the 10th, the 2 people in charge of Keshavji Gaudiya Math. So this one's very confusing. It's because the Titi begins right after Amavasya. Moni Amavasya begins right after sunrise. And so in one sense it's a Vidya Titi, but we don't determine like Vrat days, fast days like Akadashi. Those, like if it's a Vidya Titi, then we definitely follow it the next day. Like there's many heavy verses about people who don't follow that. But when it comes to Vaishnavas' appearance days and disappearance days, the rules for determining the titis are a little bit different, and so that's why there's confusion. But yeah, I think we'll read about my Gurudev on both days. So yeah, all right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Yeah, because one thing, the 10th is not, it's not even Moni Amavasya anymore on the 10th. Like the titi already changes by the time it becomes a 10th. So that's why many think we're going to follow it on the 9th. We're going to have a festival in Mayapur and do a whole program there. But yeah. Oh, and no, Kishore Prabhu, it's anyways, I'll let you know afterwards, Kishore. Okay, so I'll do Jaidvani now. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Nitya Lila Pavishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Gurudev ki jai. Nitya Lila Pavishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pavishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Lila Pavishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pavishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Lila Pavishta Maha-bhagavat Shila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pavishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitya Lila Pavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Vallabha Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Jai Shri Jai Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Gosai, sorry, Srila Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shira Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Swaparshad Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath, Shar Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय. श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जाय. सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जाय. श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय. श्री मुन देवी गंगा देवी की जाय. श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय. श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय. श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जाय. श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय. श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. जय श्री चैतन्य भागवत की जय. श्रील वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय. जय श्री श्रील वृंदावन दास. जय श्री द गौड़ीय भाष्य श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय. जय श्री श्रीवास ठाकुर की जय. श्री देवानंद पंडित की जय. Also, Devānanda Pandit later on took shelter of Gadadhar Pandit. So, Shri Gadadhar Pandit ki jai. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai. Swaparshad Shri Gaur Hari ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha. Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Oh, just very quickly, I just want to, because I'd like to just read very quick thing, because we read about how Devānanda Paṇḍita, I just want to read the conclusion of this. It's in the Madhya-khaṇḍa of Caitanya-bhāgavata. Just take me 1 second. I'm sharing my screen again. I'm reading from Bhakti Vallabha Goswami Maharaj's Śrī Caitanya and his associates. So he said, okay, so sometime after Devānanda Paṇḍita committed the offense to Srivas Pandit, Mahāprabhu passed nearby his house and saw that he was engaged in giving a discourse on Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. He became angry and rebuked him severely for his lack of faith in the Vaishnavas. Okay, so we read that. And then, but just as blasphemy of the devotees makes one deprived of the Lord's mercy and destined for downfall, glorifying them and engaging in their service is the best way to find the mercy of the Lord and become freed from all sinful and offensive activity. So then he said, listen, Brahman, Mahaprabhu said to Devānanda Paṇḍita. This is in Madhya-khaṇḍa, chapter 3, verse 449. So Mahaprabhu said to Devānanda Paṇḍita, listen, Brahman, if you want to be cured after consuming poison, you must ingest ambrosia through the very same mouth that took the poison. In this way, not only will the poison be digested, but your body will become immortal through the ambrosia's divine power. Through great good fortune, Mahaprabhu's dear associate, Vakreshwar Pandit, I said Gadadhar Pandit, I meant to say Vakreshwar Pandit. He came to stay at Devānanda Pandit's house. Because Devānanda took excellent care of Vakreshwar Pandit, Mahaprabhu softened towards him. Previously, Devānanda Paṇḍita had been completely lacking faith in the Lord. But when he heard of Mahaprabhu's glories from Vakreshwar Pandit, his attitude changed. Through the association of the Lord's devotee, he began to develop a taste for pure devotional service. Devānanda was a scholar of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, but it was through Vakreshwar's mercy that he was able to understand its meaning from Mahaprabhu. That's from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 10, verse 77. Mahaprabhu told Devānanda to explain Śrīmad Bhāgavatam in terms of devotional service. It was Devānanda Pandit's great fortune that he was able to receive the mercy of the Lord in the form of a chastisement. Then this is from Caitanya-bhāgavata. We just read this. Devānanda Paṇḍita was a great pious soul, for Mahaprabhu verbally punished him. The chastisement of Mahaprabhu is the greatest pious act. Even if one should die as a result of the Lord's punishment, he still goes to Vaikuntha. Devānanda Paṇḍita received this mercy due to living in Kuliya, or Koladvip, the place where offenses are forgiven, Aparad Bhanjan Pat. Gopal Chapal was also forgiven his offenses in Kuliya. Jai. Jai Devānanda Paṇḍita ki jai. Vakreshwar Pandit ki jai. Hari Bol, everybody. Dandavat pranams. Pranams Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Champak Mataji, Rukmini Didi. And and Rukmini Didi just shared a link on Facebook. If anybody's if anybody wants to see the link, she said there's an interesting answer to a question about this pastime in the following video. Cool. I'll have to check that out. Dandavat pranams, Hari Priya Didi, Rup Manjari Didi and Nitai, Gaṅgā Mataji, Vidya Lalasa Didi, Sudevi Didi, and Kishore Prabhu. Dandavat pranams. Oh, I forgot to say in the Jai Dvani, Jai Shatila Akarashi Titi ki Jai, Titi Palankari Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Rukmini says, I might have seen it before. Okay. And also, Jagadatri Mataji ki Jai. Her auspicious journey ki Jai. Jai ho. Kishore said that I read somewhere that Gopal Chapal became Devaki Nandan Das Thakur. Interesting. Interesting.
Where's Kishore?
He is on YouTube.
He switched. He abandoned us.
Yes.
We can't hear his voice.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. All right. So, is that does anybody have anything to say before we end our reading for today? All right. So I'll see you all tomorrow to read the glories of Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikram Goswami Maharaj on his appearance day. Oh, and some devotees were writing nice things about Mother Jagadatri Mataji. Yeah, Jai Ho. All right. So yeah, see you all tomorrow for the glories of Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikram Goswami Maharaj. Hare Bol.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna.